What's going on, guys? So, another day, another video, Today, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of being a CS in the Navy. Whether that's out to sea or in port, whatever. And I'm only going to do this based off being on a ship. Because being a CS, shore duty, or in a squadron, or any of that other stuff, I don't know what the life is like. I don't know. I have no experience in that, so I can't speak on behalf of that, right? But I do have experience on a ship life CS lifestyle, so I'm gonna tell you the pros and cons about that. And I'm gonna start off with being in your home port. You're not going anywhere. You guys are just there, kind of waiting for whatever schedule. It's just like having another job. It sucks because the hours are long. You basically have to have breakfast ready. You gotta do lunch and you gotta do dinner. That's a typical, full day where there's no turnover. It's just your watch. And from my experience, I used to get there at 4 in the morning, right? Because breakfast gotta be cooked or gotta be done. I want to say about, it should technically, it doesn't need to be done till 6, but you always have early watch, so it's better to do it a little bit earlier, because you always have those people that end up complaining if it ain't ready by like 5:50, and it's not even that they're complaining, it's just some people got to go and watch, and they just got to eat sooner. But anyways, being in port, I would get there at 4, and I would take my time, get ready, because I wouldn't wear my end-ups from home to the ship. I would go in regular clothes, go to the berthing, change, all that good stuff, and then I'd go down and start getting ready. For the most part, it takes you probably like an hour max to get everything set up. But I'm the type of person, I'm the type of person that I want to have everything ready. I want to chill and I want to eat before doing anything, or else, I'm not gonna have a good day. But it's all about preparation and being ready. So what I like to do is, like I said, get there early, do what I gotta do, eat, drink my coffee, whatever it is that I need to before we start. So you start there from 6, and then you do lunch from 12 to 1, and then dinner 4 to 5. But technically for dinner you have to be ready from 3:30 to 5, because like I said, the early watch, they gotta turn over, so they gotta eat first, blah blah blah, whatever. For the most part, when you're in port, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of ass, because other jobs don't really have to stay there all day. For the most part, everyone's kind of done by 1500, 3 o'clock. Others earlier, but for the most part, they try to keep everybody, well, at least on the ship that I was, they were always complaining about, oh, some people leave too early, blah 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 blah. We had a bunch of COs that were just straight, I don't want to use a bad word or anything, they just were not they weren't the most pleasant COs, right? Whatever's. So yeah, 1500, most of them, they be getting off by that time, unless you got duty, of course, which there we go to a pro. We go to a pro. When you're a CS starting off, or at least maybe for the first 2 years of CS, you won't have duty. I didn't have. Never mind. I'll take that back. For the first 2 years, you won't have duty. And I know some people that went their whole contract without having duty as a CS, because whatever. You don't have duty, so that's a good thing. But then when holidays come, people that don't have duty get it off. But if you're a CS, it doesn't really work with us, because somebody's always going to end up working, because obviously we're in a 5 and 2, like explained in the other video. So somebody is going to have to work it regardless, but at the end of the day, once you're in there, you get used to it, because it's not like, oh, I can call off, or I'll make up that I'm sick. Nah, you showing up, you better be dead if you're not showing up, or just don't give a F. But that's another story. And then the cons of being like I said, well, I pretty much explained the cons of being a CS import. Long hours, you don't get to enjoy holidays like other people when they're off, this and that, so, but at least you don't have to do duty, you don't have to stand duty. You know, some people hate duty because you gotta stay on the ship for a whole 24 hours, make sure nothing happens, and for the most part, a lot of the time, something usually does happen, whether it be fucking plumbing, you know, fucking water pipes. Something's always going on, folks. At least on my ship, something was always going on. Something was catching on fire. I don't know what was going on, but there was always something. Anyways, when you're out to sea, that's where the real thing is at. Because being out to sea, you know, you're a cook. You get to eat whatever you want, however much you want, you know. And if people be like, hey, bro, let me get some more of this and that, you know, then that's when you start making some deals. Be like, all right, you working, you're a DC man. I gotta get these quals, homie. I'll hook you up. You sign my PQS off, homie. And that's just how it works, you know. And not only that, let's just say it's somebody in a rate where they can't really help you out or whatever. It's like, oh, you want some extra? Well, shit, what do you got? I'm a smoker. I need some cigarettes. You got a pack? All right. I'll give you food for a week, extra food for a week. You give me a pack of cigarettes or 2 packs of cigarettes. You know, you can always bargain your way in now, you know, shit like that. Well, for me, I did it with the RSs because, you know, we had a couple RSs that could cut. So every time we'd go to a port, I'd be like, hey, man, I'll hook you up. I mean, you already know I'm going to hook you up. But let me get a cut here and there. And they're like, oh, yeah, no worries. I got you. And, you know, you start making deals like that. Your PQSs, you can sign them off a lot quicker because everybody got to go through the chow line. So if you can't find somebody a specific that needs to give you a signature on your PQS, guess what, homie? I'll see you at chow time. Bam, signed off. And guess what? You can hook them up a little bit. And not only that, medical, bro. Let me tell you, bro. You better start going to medical, brother. You better start writing down, mate. Be like, hey, get close with the medical people. Be like, yo, homie, I need you to, I'm going to be going to this because this shit hurts, that shit hurts. I need you to document that shit. And I'm going to hook you up, all right? For the most part, you know? And that's the benefit of being a cook, whether you're out to sea, you know? But the one that I want to bring to everyone's attention that, you know, no matter what, it will happen. Eventually, you guys are gonna run out of food. Not run out of food, but you guys are gonna run out of the good stuff, and you're gonna have like these nasty ass meals that you gotta give out to the crew. You know, for the most part, a lot of times, you know, you're not gonna want to eat that. But guess what? We got some stuff in the back. I'm gonna go fix me up a plate, and when I get out there in the mess station and eat it, everybody gonna be envious. Like, damn, where'd you get that? Let me get some of that. And that's where you're like, nah, homie, this all me. And you know, to some people that doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're out to sea and everything's crazy and, you know, you're 7 months in and all the things that you packed for the deployment are done, you're gonna need the hookups, I'm telling you. And all the people that say they don't, they're lying, they're full of it. They ain't never been on a full ass 9-month deployment, or they lying to you, bruh. But other than that, being a CS is, you know, it has its ups and its downs. Don't get me wrong. There's times where I was in there and I just wanted to crash out and just, you know. But at the end of the day, you just gotta go through it day by day, you know. But yeah, for the most part, it ain't too bad, bruh. It ain't too bad whether you're out to sea or inland or whatever you want to call it. It's not that bad, you know. But with all that being said, I only did 1 contract. If you plan on doing more than 1 contract, I definitely recommend you actually learning the craft, because obviously you got to take a test to, you know, rank up, and then your evaluation, that takes a big part in it. But like I said, if you're doing more than 1 contract, actually pay attention, actually show up like you care. I mean, you know, as long as you're there, ready on time, ready to go with the right uniform and with the right attitude, you're good, you know? That's how I was every day, you know? Don't get me wrong. I hated every second of it, but at the same time, I was here, you know, and there was no going back. I was like, bro, I'm already here. I might as well take advantage of it, because I know at the end of the day, it's all going to pay off. And sure it is. It's fucking paying off. So remember that. If you plan on, whether you plan on doing 1 contract or re-enlisting, make sure you learn the craft, and don't just, you can't also just say F it, you know. You got to play the part too. And that was a mistake when I first joined my first, I want to say first year and a half. I kind of was on autopilot. I was like, yeah, this and that, whatever, I don't care. But it's gonna catch up to you, so you got to start You gotta. In the Navy, it's all about playing the game, bro. As crazy as it sounds, but you just gotta play the game. And it took me a while to actually, comprehend that and understand that. But once you play the game, you'll be chilling. I promise. But with that being said, happy Thursday. Let's get it. And I'm out here. Let me know if you guys have any questions about something specific, because I'm telling you, fool, I got the resume for it. Been on quite a few deployments, so just let me know, you guys. Take care.